Did you hear the story about the Uber executive, the head of the diversity, equity, and inclusion department in the company? And yes, that's a real department and a real job title, who was suspended because she offended the black employees by holding a seminar trying to convince them to stop being so racist against white women in the event that was called the Don't Call Me Karen seminar. You're never going to guess who is actually defending her and actually making sense for once. Well, actually, you probably have guessed because I showed her in the thumbnail. But you get my point. Before we get to her, in the previous videos that I did about the New York City nurse who had the dispute with the black teen over who has the rights to the rental bike, I mentioned that Karen is an anti-white slur because they're calling her the city bike Karen. And I noticed a lot of comments from people disagreeing, saying, what do you mean Karen's an anti-white slur? Well, to the anti-white black people who use it, it definitely is. In fact, even to Wikipedia, which says that Karen is a pejorative term, meaning a negative term, used as slang for a white woman, notice they don't capitalize the word white, perceived as entitled, demanding beyond the scope of what is normal. So it is an anti-white slur. The term is often portrayed in memes depicting white women who use their white privilege to demand their own way. Even Joy Reid, the angry black woman over at MSNBC, who is ironically named Joy, thinks that it's their word and accused Elon Musk of committing cultural appropriation by using the term to describe Elizabeth Warren.
Elon wasn't happy, so he did what he always did and stomped his little feet and insulted Senator Warren, calling her an angry mom and referring to her as Senator Karen. So for so many reasons, being a freeloader and a selfish and disrespectful one, and for misappropriating black vernacular for misogynistic purposes, Elon Musk is the absolute worst.
Black vernacular. So again, the head of the ridiculous and insane diversity, equity, and inclusion department at Uber tried to tell nicely the black employees to stop calling their white coworkers Karens because it's an anti-white slur. So she was suspended, probably is going to get fired. And surprisingly, Anna Kasparian, Chunk Uyghur's sidekick over at the Young Turks, this raving liberal lunatic.
Am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage.
So here she is after apparently realizing that her and her fellow Marxists have created a monster, and like Frankenstein, it has turned on them.
Uber has placed Bo Young Lee, its head of diversity, on leave after she moderated a couple of employee events that made the horrifying mistake of including the perspectives of white female employees. After several years of diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings, making it clear that the inclusion part is really meant to exclude the, participation of white women, some employees at Uber didn't take kindly to the sudden paradigm shift. One person wrote, "I felt like I was being scolded for the entirety of that meeting." Another employee took issue with the premise that the term Karen shouldn't be used. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the workplace, you shouldn't be calling your coworkers Karens. It's just not a good idea. And by the way, just let that sink in for a moment. Employees were openly angry that they couldn't use a derogatory word against some of their colleagues.
The systemic anti-whiteism has got so bad in America that even Anna Kasparian at the Young Jerks is pushing back against it. Systemic anti-whiteism, like the University of Minnesota offering a summer research program, including a $6,000 stipend to non-white students only. Of course, in a sane society, the Justice Department would sue the university for blatant discrimination, but it's run by a bunch of anti-white Marxists, so these sorts of violations of the Civil Rights Act are allowed to slide. The same thing is happening across the pond over in England, where I think that black people are also 13% of the population and also responsible for 60% of the knife crime over there, since they don't really have a lot of shootings and stuff, so mostly it's just knife crimes over there. So it's 1360 over there as well. But there's a theater that is putting on a show, and they ask that no white people come because they just prefer to have an all-black audience. They don't want the white gaze looking upon their show. UC Berkeley just had a black-only graduation ceremony, which is now common at colleges across the country since they need a safe space away from the terrible white students. And this is just a small scene of what that event was like. Oh, gotta hold up the Black Power fist there.
Aramis Anderson said the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Receiving a Bachelor of Arts in Disciplinary Studies field, Political Economy, Legal Studies, and African American Studies. He said, disbursement and allocation, reparations for African Americans.
Okay, that's enough of that, but stay tuned because there's plenty more to come in this video. But if you want to see other videos of a certain group of people doing certain things that you're not allowed to expose them for doing on the big tech platforms, then join my exclusive locals community by clicking the link in the description below. It's basically like Patreon, so you can sponsor my channel for $5 a month over there, and then you have exclusive access to the locals community, which is like a private Facebook page where I can post whatever I want and say whatever I want without having to get censored or banned like you would on the big tech platforms. Videos like the ones this MSNBC host is gaslighting his audience into thinking don't exist because what are you going to do? Believe your lying eyes or an MSNBC host? He's the token fake Muslim over on MSNBC. And you know that he's a fake Muslim because no actual Muslim supports LGBTism, but he posted this on Twitter saying this lie that white people kill other white people at almost the same rate black people kill other black people, and yet you never hear anyone complaining about white-on-white crime. This is one of those extremely deceptive half-truths that surprisingly got fact-checked by Twitter's crowdsourced fact-checking system, Community Notes. Because if you look at the actual statistics, the number of crimes committed by black people and white people, it's gonna be about the same. But then if you realize that black people are only 13% of the population, then you do the math per capita, then you'll realize that a certain group of people are committing about 10 times the number of crimes of white people. And did you know that eating 3 meals a day is also racist?
Okay, maybe everyone but me knew this, but I just learned from the book I'm reading, I'll put it right here, that the 3 meals a day thing, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is from colonialism and white supremacy. That when the European colonizers came and saw the indigenous people eating when they were hungry, they were like, they're savages, they're uncivilized. Because the white Europeans differentiated themselves from animals who would graze for their food when they were hungry by setting distinct meal times that correlated with time of day. And so that is why we eat 3 meals a day instead of just eating when we're hungry.
Actually, we eat 3 meals a day because after you've been sleeping for 7, 8 hours, you need some nourishment. So that's why people eat breakfast. And then you go to work and you work for 5, 6 hours. And then you burn off that food, so you need more energy. So then you have lunch. And then you work some more. And then when you get home from work, you need more energy, so you eat dinner. Also, many black people are upset, according to USA Today, because there is a shortage of black sperm donors that is causing black families to have to wait years or spend thousands of dollars or compromise, they say, on the race of their children by using white sperm instead. And look at that, for extra diversity, they show a black lesbian couple who wants a black baby. They don't want to compromise and have a half black one. But of course, if a white couple said that they didn't want a black baby or didn't want a half black baby, they would be denounced as terrible racists, as eugenicists, and it would be a big scandal across the whole country. I mean, heck, if white people only want to date other white people, that's a scandal now, too.
Online dating has become increasingly sophisticated. You can now filter by age, gender, eye color, body weight, and race. But has a new site called Where White People Meet crossed the line?
Actually, I think after the Black Lives Matter insurrection of 2020, most of the big dating apps removed the ability to filter by race because that was seen as racist, and then Match was denounced for deciding to keep the filter in place. And get a load of this girl.
Need to go to a motherfucking HBCU.
That's a historically black college or university, by the way, where it's almost all black students, obviously.
I can't be around white people any goddamn longer. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I don't even need to say it because we all know if a white girl posted a video like this, complaining even mildly, not just shouting and screaming like a lunatic, about not wanting to be around black or brown students and wanting to go to a predominantly white university, she would be kicked out of school and her entire life would be ruined. But speaking of a non-crazy black girl, Candace Owens has had a recent revelation about things.
I think I have finally changed my mind. I actually now agree with the sentiment that America is the most racist country in the world. We are. It's abundantly obvious. We are the most racist country in the world toward white people. I've never seen this much animus toward any race in my entire life. And this recent story about a hospital Karen really proves how disgusting we have become as a nation and how ashamed we should feel that people are not standing up for the way that white people are being treated.
Absolutely, Candace. And I would just politely encourage you to use the term anti-whiteism when talking about anti-white racism, instead of just the generic term racism, which has the connotation of always being something that white people are doing to non-whites. So it's best to use the more accurate term anti-whiteism. And by the way, you can save 25% off of your I Love White People shirt from my online store at markdice.com this Memorial Day weekend, or any of my awesome designs, by using the promo code MAGA25 at the checkout. This is actually a shirt for my non-white viewers to help stand up against anti-whiteism. But for the rest of you, you should definitely order your Wanted for President shirt, or your Conspiracy Theorist for Rights shirt, or any of my awesome designs. Like I said, save 25% off this weekend by using the promo code MAGA25 at the checkout. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.